Welcome back to the program. Let's return to the breaking news on our show today. The We Charity is shuttering its business in Canada. In an exclusive interview with CTV News chief anchor and senior editor Lisa Laflamme, Craig and Mark Kielburger told her their business got run down by what they call a political freight train. They were naive about it, they say. Now they have to shutter the entire We Charity in Canada. It's over. They're selling off $50 million of Toronto real estate in assets. They'll use the money to support We Charity programs in other countries like Kenya. The full interview will air tonight on CTV National News with Lisa. So who's responsible for the destruction of one of the highest profile charities in Canada? The press gallery is here to discuss it. Joining us is Stephanie Levitz, a reporter with the Canadian Press. Robert Benzie is Toronto Star's Queen's Park bureau chief. It is his 20th wedding anniversary tonight, and he's clearly screwing that up by appearing with us, but good luck tonight, Benz. And
she doesn't mind.
Our special guest is good God. The special guest is former deputy Conservative leader and CTV's news political analyst, Lisa Raitt. Good to have all of you here. Lisa, what's your reaction to the shutdown of the We Charity?
It's a sad day for people who were employed by the We Charity, and it's sad for those who actually benefited from the We Charity. There's no question about it. Evan, it's a real tough time for all charities across Canada right now with the pandemic. And I'm joining the board of an international charity, and I know that we're taking a look at what the future looks like. So I'm sure that we had a few more things on their plate when they're thinking about what their future looks like, and this is the decision. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say to Lisa tonight.
Yeah, so am I. Steph Levitz, the fallout of this is obviously big. The political fallout, who's to blame on this? You hear the Kielburger say, look, we were just politically naive, which is a bit hard to believe given how closely they've rubbed elbows with politicians for a quarter century. What's your take on all this?
Some of it reminds me, you have to think back to the Kielburgers having been in this, for lack of a better word, industry for almost their entire lives, and to what extent they developed a blind spot about things like ethics, like politics, and to what extent that the country as well has its own blind spot about this particular organization. And I think the whole incident speaks to a lack of transparency around a lot of things in this country, both about how the government awards contracts and how that process actually works. And on the flip side, how charities actually run and whether they do the work they say they're doing, or whether a star-studded marquee that, the Kielburgers could put up all the time, did it obscure a lot of other problems within the organization that no one was really paying attention to. And these two things came to a head and destroyed them.
Yeah, it's Robert Benzie. Benz, your take on who's accountable. This has kind of got an Icarus. They just seem to fly too close to the sun, and you just saw the wings melt there. What's your take on this?
You know what, Evan, that's exactly it. I'm not sure that there's any charity anywhere in the world that is so closely identified with individuals. I mean, everyone knows Craig Kielburger from when he was a young boy who read a story in the Toronto Star about child labor and was inspired to start this worldwide movement. And he and his brother have done, an admirable job building this up. But I think when a charity is so closely identified with just a few people like this, you are flying a bit close to the sun, and there is a risk that something like this can just melt it all away. And Lisa's right. It's a sad day for Canada. It's a sad day for the kids, millions of kids, including mine, who went to We Days over the years. But I think this was a complicated scandal, and it is a scandal. And I'm still not convinced that the last chapter has been written on this scandal. And I think that it's not surprising, really, that we're nearing the end of this saga, I guess. But I'm not surprised by this.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a Canadian success story for almost quarter century. I remember covering them in Chicago when they went on the Oprah show. I went and did a story on them doing that, Lisa Laflamme. And, these were guys that did incredible things, but then something changed, I guess. What questions, Lisa Raitt, we just had Lisa Laflamme, but
yeah.
Lisa Raitt, what questions are left in this investigation? Because the opposition is not going to let up.
No, they're not going to let up. And we just heard that in the segment that you had before us. Both the NDP and the Conservatives want to see the documents around the contribution agreement. They want to see what analysis the department did and figuring out what the risks were associated. And I wanted to point out, too, Evan, you're right. I mean, this charity has been very much associated with the Kielburgers. And in fact, here in Milton, Ontario, there's a school named after Craig Kielburger Secondary School. And, huge impact on lots of kids, but it's it is a story of when you embed yourself in a land of celebrity and you're rubbing shoulders and you're not necessarily understanding what the rules of the game are, as they have put it, they were naive. You really do have to do your due diligence, and that's where a strong board comes into play.
Steph, let's talk about the political fallout for the Liberals on this. The Kielburgers really said something powerful to Lisa LaFlamme. They said this was now the we scandal. Like their brand, after 25 years, went from charity, good works, to a scandal. What about the Liberal brand on this? What's the political fallout?
I mean, some of it, again, the Liberals aligned themselves with this charity. You have to look at why the Trudeau family in particular has long been associated with it, right? It was very much about the Trudeau brand as well. It was about Justin Trudeau's brand in particular. He styled himself as the Minister for Youth. They were really eager to reach out and to tap into this pool of voters, that maybe when this whole their association with the we family, for lack of a better word, started. These were kids who were, 14, 15 years old. They were going to be voters. They were going to come along and back the Trudeau brand. And so if you take it to its natural conclusion, then, of course, the Trudeau brand remains tarnished in this. It becomes another point in the narrative that the Conservatives and the NDP will no doubt advance in the coming months about, Trudeau and his own Icarus and his, flying too close to the sun and rubbing elbows with the rich and powerful and not putting a line in between his role as the prime minister and celebrity Trudeau. And there has to be a line there. And that this charity, could fall apart so completely over this scandal, again, raises further questions, I would think, on the part of the opposition. How solvent were they to manage this program? How much about this was saving their backs, getting this grant, and how hard did they hustle and draw on those celebrity connections to make it happen for them, to save them in the end?
Just Ben's last word. I just want people to appreciate this controversy over this program. The students never got the money. The Prime Minister lost his finance minister, and the We charity is now shuttered in Canada. This is a big the fallout of this is stunning.
And ironically, Evan, the job grant program was supposed to save we, and instead it's hastened its demise. I mean, COVID-19 has, as Lisa Raitt was saying earlier, has hit every charity in this country, and we was no exception. This grant program could have saved the charity, and instead it has effectively killed it in Canada. And that's not a thing that should bring any of us joy. But I think that there is a lot to be said for perhaps maybe people just sticking to their knitting a little bit more and not getting seduced by celebrity and getting seduced by fame and glamour and glitz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that work there, and the Kielburgers who must have been having a real tough night now after this thing has ended so shockingly. Okay, guys, I got to take a short break. Steph Levitz and Benz, just please stay with us. I just want to keep Robert Benzie so his wife gets even more angry at him over his anniversary tonight. Lisa Raitt will say thank you to you. Great to have Lisa Raitt on the program.